thick stone walls, a fire burning in a room that stood for generations, a garden opening out onto wild Scottish landscape, and a price that doesn't start at $500,000, but closer to $140,000. Today I'm showing you 8 character cottages across Scotland that are actually on the market right now. These aren't ruins or heavy renovation projects. They're solid, move-in ready homes. But this isn't just about the properties. It's about what that budget buys you here. Space, setting, and a very different kind of everyday life. We'll move across the country, from Angus and Aberdeenshire to the borders, Shetland, and back toward Edinburgh. And stay with me, because I've saved the strongest for the end. The last 2 genuinely stand out. Let's take a look. Property number 1, and we're opening at $145,300, that's 108,000 pounds, in Kirriemuir, Angus. Kirriemuir is a compact sandstone market town in eastern Scotland, sitting at the foot of the Angus Glens where the lowland farmland gives way to proper highland terrain. It has the kind of high street and community identity that most Scottish towns lost a generation ago, and the architecture here is almost entirely that warm, reddish-brown local sandstone, which is exactly why the houses look the way they do. It's the birthplace of J.M. Barrie, the man who created Peter Pan, and on a clear morning, the views from the upper streets stretch for miles into the hills. What you're getting here is a sandstone end terrace cottage dating from around 1890. That classic facade that looks like it belongs on a film set, except this isn't a film set, it's real life. Inside, a bright lounge anchored by a log-burning stove. And if you've never sat in front of one of those on a wet Scottish evening, you're missing out. A fitted kitchen with hob and double oven that is ready to cook dinner tonight. A flexible ground floor bedroom that could be a study or a guest room. A second double bedroom upstairs. A box room perfect for a home office. And a bathroom with both a bath and a separate shower. According to the listing, this is offered with no onward chain, which in practice means no waiting, no chains to break, a cleaner purchase. Outside, there's a private garden at the end of the terrace for 108,000 pounds. And the best part is, this is 67 square meters, around 720 square feet, of genuine period character, no major renovations, described as move-in ready, and it's yours with a private green patch in a town that still feels like Scotland actually used to feel. The leader has just been set. But I already know it's not going to hold that title for long. Keep watching. Before we move on, quick scene break. Picture the road north out of Kirriemuir. Dry stone walls lining fields of pale grass, long thin locks, catching whatever grey light the clouds let through, crows on fence posts. Scotland's central belt gets all the attention, but the rural belt between Angus and Aberdeenshire is genuinely underrated. It's quiet in the best way, it's accessible, and it's extremely affordable. The properties up here don't come cheap everywhere, but when they do, they really do. Okay, back to the deals. Property number 2, and we step up to 170,000 pounds. $228,800 near Kilsyth in a village called Twechar. Twechar sits in North Lanarkshire, tucked between the Campsie Fells and the outskirts of Greater Glasgow, close enough to the city to be genuinely practical, but quiet enough that the rear garden backs onto countryside, not another suburb. The village grew around the coal industry, which is why you get these rows of solid, thick-walled sandstone miners' cottages that were built to last and have done exactly that. This is a 3-bedroom sandstone mid-terrace, part of one of those traditional rows. And here's what I find genuinely interesting about these. They were built to last. These are not flimsy Victorian terraces. The walls are thick. The proportions are generous. And the ones that have been looked after properly age incredibly well. According to the listing, this one has a bright, spacious lounge with an open fireplace and light flooding in from the windows. There's a kitchen diner with gas hob, electric oven, fridge freezer, and an adjacent utility room with washing machine and tumble dryer already in. 3 bedrooms, all described as bright and welcoming, a loft for extra storage, double glazing and gas central heating, which in Scotland's climate is not a minor detail. It's a major one. There's a rear garden with space for kids or a dog or just a chair and a coffee. A shed inside a brick outhouse at the back, which sounds small but adds real practical storage. The listing itself says that someone with an eye for interior design could transform this into something special, meaning there's cosmetic room to personalize, but no major renovations required to actually live here. And the best part is 3 bedrooms, gas central heating, double glazing, and a garden for $228,000 in a quiet village with easy access to Kirriemuir in the outskirts of Glasgow. Solid property, real value. And now the later changes, because number 3 is about to redefine what your money can get you. Property number 3, £190,000, $255,700 in Logie Coldstone, Aberdeenshire. Aberdeenshire is a vast county in northeast Scotland, built almost entirely from local grey granite, which gives every town and village a cool, silvery solidity that you genuinely don't find anywhere else in Britain. Logie Coldstone sits in the How of Kirriemuir, a bowl-shaped valley surrounded by hills and close to Royal Deeside, one of the most scenic river corridors in the country. And this is where we take a jump in what you're getting. This is a 3-bedroom, semi-detached on an elevated plot in a small Aberdeenshire village, and the listing describes it as deceptively spacious, which is estate agent code for it looks modest from the outside, and then you walk in and there's room. The current owner has been continuously upgrading. There's a recently installed kitchen with a separate utility room, a wood-burning stove as the centerpiece of the lounge, a large picture window at the front looking out over the village, and neutral decor throughout with full double glazing and oil-fired central heating. 3 bedrooms, 2 large doubles upstairs, plus a third that doubles as a dining room downstairs. A modern bathroom, all of that. And then you go outside. The plot is large, the last on the Bray, meaning no neighbor on one side and room in every direction. There's a concrete drive with off-street parking for several vehicles, a stone-built garage with power and light, raised vegetable beds, mature shrubs, and seasonal flowers in the rear garden, and a summer house. A summer house in Aberdeenshire. And yes, you can actually use it because the rear garden is described as catching the afternoon sun. And the best part is, all the external wooden buildings, the summer house, the wood store, the shed, the carport, are all included in the sale price. According to the listing, this is move-in ready with everything continuously maintained. No major renovations. You could unpack on Saturday and light the stove on Sunday. But I'm telling you, what's coming at number 4 is so unexpected that some of you are going to pause and rewind. Don't click away. Property number 4, and we hit £225,000, $302,800, and we're leaving the mainland entirely now, heading up to Shetland. Shetland sits further north than Moscow, closer to Borgue in Norway than to Edinburgh, and has a Norse-influenced culture and an elemental, treeless landscape that makes it feel genuinely unlike anywhere else in the British Isles. Papa Store is one of its outer islands. Population around 20, coastline of sea caves, arches, and blowholes, and a silence that people either find terrifying or completely liberating. Now I need to stop you right here because this one is not for everyone, and that's exactly why it's on this list. This is a pair of traditional crofts on the island of Papa Stour, off the west coast of Shetland, 136 acres, with a cottage with sea views, for $302,000. The cottage has recently been refurbished. According to the listing, new kitchen, new shower, new toilet, laminate flooring, new electrical sockets, and switches. This is not a ruin. It's a small, solid, actually move-in ready home on the edge of the Atlantic. There's a ferry, 40 minutes to the mainland, running 4 days a week. This is the kind of property that in almost any other country would cost millions, because you simply cannot buy 100+ acres of coastal land with a habitable cottage for this money anywhere else in Western Europe. The annual croft rent to Shetland Island Council is £36 a year. £36. Is it remote? Absolutely. Is there a small community? Or a small? Yes, and it's tight-knit. Could this be a creative retreat, a wildlife sanctuary, a genuine off-grid life? 100%. This isn't a lifestyle for everyone, but if it's yours, there is nothing like it on the market at this price point. Prices are selected at the time and listings move fast. And now we go back to the mainland and Property 5, which is a completely different kind of find, but just as strong in its own way. A quick breather and a fast fact. Scotland gets a bad reputation for weather, and look, it rains. But the Scottish borders, the one where we're heading next, sit in a rain shadow that makes them noticeably drier than the Highlands. The villages along the Tweed and its tributaries get proper spring and summer seasons. It's still Scotland, not the Riviera, but it's not as bleak as the joke suggests. And the architecture down here, sandstone, pale harling, the occasional painted cottage in cream or white, it's genuinely beautiful. Okay, property number 5, and we're still at £225,000, $302,800. This time in Wark, a small village in the borders near Cornhill on Tweed, 8 miles from Kelso. The Scottish borders is that broad swathe of rolling countryside between Edinburgh and the English border. River valleys, ruined abbeys, market towns with 500-year-old civic traditions, and a pace of life that feels genuinely unhurried. Wark itself sits just above the River Till in some of the most quietly beautiful farmland in the region. The kind of place where the biggest decision on a Sunday is which hill to walk up first. And this one has a very specific quality that I want you to notice. It's already running as a holiday let. The current owners have been letting it successfully, which means it has been tested by actual guests, which means it works as a home, as a retreat, and as an income-generating asset, depending on what you want to do with it. The listing describes it as a charming end-terraced cottage in an elevated position with open countryside views. You enter through a large sunroom, full-length glazed doors on 2 sides, 2 skylights, and view straight over the garden to the hills beyond, and from there into an open-plan living room and kitchen. The living room has a beamed ceiling and an inglenook fireplace with a multi-fuel stove. The kitchen has oak units, granite effect worktops, and appliances. Ground floor bathroom. Upstairs, 2 generous double bedrooms, both with open countryside views. The main bedroom retains an original cast-iron fireplace, oil-fired central heating throughout, off-road parking on the driveway, terraced lawn gardens at the back with well-established flower beds. According to the listing, this is described as retaining its character and charm. No major renovations, fully functional, and already generating income as a holiday let. And the best part is, if you're thinking about a second property or a rural income stream, this one has already done the work of proving the concept. The leader has shifted again, and number 6 is about to show you something quite different. The best of the detached in a real town category. Keep going. Property number 6, £249,500, $335,800 in Selkirk, the Scottish borders. Selkirk is a royal burgh with a history stretching back to the 12th century, sitting on high ground above the Ettrick Water, with views of rolling hills in every direction. It has a real functioning town centre, a rail connection to Edinburgh via nearby Galashiels just 6 miles away, and one of the most celebrated common ridings in Scotland, a horse riding civic ceremony that's been filling the streets every June for 500 years. And this one stands out for one word: detached. Because up to this point, we've been looking at terraces and semi-detached homes, and that's fine. Those can be exceptional. But a detached cottage from the late 1800s in a real borders town is a different proposition. Fuchsia Cottage, as it's described in the listing, is a charming detached dwelling constructed in the late 1800s, just a short stroll from Selkirk town center. 2 public rooms and a bedroom on the ground floor, 2 more bedrooms and a box room upstairs. And the listing notes there's an option to convert that box room into an ensuite, subject to permissions. So you've got flexibility to grow the space slightly without major structural work. But the real talking point is outside. According to the listing, this property has a surprisingly large wraparound garden that has been beautifully maintained with a lovely outlook towards Lingley Hill, a wraparound garden on a detached cottage in a real town with amenities, a high street, easy road links to Edinburgh and Galashiels. And the best part is, this is the kind of property where you could sit in the garden on a July evening looking at the hill and feel genuinely, completely at home. Not a museum, it's real life. No major renovations described. Solid, detached, genuine period character. And now, the final stretch. 2 more, and I've been holding the strongest back deliberately. Don't go anywhere. Property number 7, £250,000, $336,500. And we move to Borgue near Kirkcudbright, on the Solway coast in Galloway. Galloway is Scotland's southwest corner, a quieter and greener peninsula, warmed by the Gulf Stream, where the climate is mild enough by Scottish standards to grow palms in some coastal gardens. Kirkcudbright, pronounced Kirriemuir, is the artist's town on the Solway coast, a characterful small town that's been drawing painters and creatives since the late 19th century, and it still has that unhurried, color-soaked energy today. Gled Park Cottage, and this one has a quality that's genuinely hard to find at this price point. It's a traditional, detached Galloway cottage in a stunning countryside setting, approximately 2 miles from Kirkcudbright and only 5 miles from the beaches at Sandgreen and Carrick, 2 miles to a vibrant cultural town, 5 miles to a beach. And the listing's particular feature? The large garden room at the rear, overlooking the garden and the countryside beyond. That's not a conservatory. It's a full room, dedicated to bringing the outside in, with views stretching into open Galloway landscape. Inside, a living room, kitchen, utility room, 2 bedrooms, and a shower room. Off-street parking, a garden shed, and summer house included. According to the listing, this type of property is rarely available on the open market, and in Galloway, where supply of detached period cottages is genuinely thin, that's not just sales phrasing. The area is popular with walkers, bird watchers, and anglers. Prestwick Airport is about an hour and a half away. The A75 Euro route gives easy access east toward Dumfries and beyond, with the M74 linking to Glasgow in roughly 2 hours. Always check documents, fees, and current availability. Listings like this move. And the best part is, if you're thinking about a life that combines culture, coast, countryside, and genuine quiet with a detached cottage and a garden room you'll use every day, this is it. But wait, because number 8 is the one that changes the entire conversation. It's the most expensive on this list, and I'd argue it's the smartest buy for a very specific type of person. Property number 8, £340,000, $457,674. In Dalkeith, Midlothian, 7 miles from Edinburgh's city centre. Dalkeith is a historic market town in Midlothian, the county that wraps around Edinburgh's southern and eastern edges, close enough to the city to commute easily by rail or road, but with its own identity, a 1,000-acre country park, and real countryside, beginning immediately beyond the town boundary. The architecture here mixes Victorian stone with older burg buildings, and the housing stock still has the solidity and character that the city centre lost to tourism decades ago. Now, before you say, that's not affordable, pause. Because this is a 3-bedroom, semi-detached cottage with private front and rear gardens, a private driveway, a feature fireplace in the sitting room, countryside views from upstairs, a dining room that doubles as a flexible reception space, and a ground floor bedroom with cloakroom. And it's 7 miles from one of the most culturally rich, economically dynamic, internationally connected cities in Europe, Edinburgh. The listing describes it as positioned to enjoy peaceful rural living while being a 30-minute drive to Edinburgh city centre and just down the road from Fort Kinnaird for retail and everyday convenience. The nearest rail stations, Shawfair and New Craig Hall, are less than 2 miles away with direct access to the AOM 720 city bypass. The listing also notes that the field behind the property has been planted as a native species protected woodland, meaning those countryside views to the rear are not going to be built on. That is genuinely significant. Curtains, light fittings, fitted flooring, and white goods are included in the sale price. According to the listing, described as move-in ready with rustic charm and modern comforts. No major renovations. And the best part is, you're buying a countryside cottage life, a private garden, 3 bedrooms, 7 miles from Edinburgh, with protected views to the rear, for $457,000. In almost any other commuter zone around a major European capital, that money buys you a 1-bedroom flat with traffic noise. Here it buys you a cottage with a garden and a view of trees that will always be trees. That's the deal. That's the one that changes the game. So here's where we land. 8 solid properties, all described as move-in ready or close to it, all with real character, all in real places where people actually live their lives. And not one of them asking you to fund a renovation project before you can sleep in it. If you're after the best entry point and genuine sandstone charm, that Kirriemuir cottage at $145,000, 67 square meters, or around 720 square feet of period character, is extraordinary value and the cleanest buy on the list. If it's land that excites you, real land, coastal land, 136 acres of Shetland with a refurbished cottage, Papa Star at number 4 is the one. If it's lifestyle and income potential combined, the Wark cottage at number 5 has already proven itself as a holiday let. If it's the smartest long-term bet with city proximity and protected views, the Dalkeith cottage at number 8 wins that category without question. Comment below and tell me, which one would you actually pack your bags for? The remote island life, the Borders retreat, the Edinburgh commuter cottage, or something else entirely? And if you want more finds like this, subscribe, because the next region we're covering has even lower entry points and just as much character. Prices reflect the listings at the moment of selection. The best Scottish cottage for your life is out there, and now you know where to start looking.